Hello, I'm Chris Insinger, VMware Business Director at EMC for Asia Pacific and Japan. Today I'd like to talk to you about an often overlooked element of virtualization, and that's the need to meet service level agreements. As IT departments, you make a guarantee towards your business customers that you will provide certain facilities, certain services with certain parameters around availability, performance, etc., etc. I'd like to talk to you about some of the things you might want to consider when you adopt virtualization and how they might affect your ability to meet your promises to the business. So what we see is that customers, when they move to virtualization, they don't adopt all of the capabilities in one go. In fact, they typically go through a journey of multiple steps. These are the common steps that we see. We really see a pilot phase, moving on to a light use, then a heavy use, and finally what we call virtual first. I'd like to step you through each one of those individually and just help you think through some of the elements that might affect your SLAs. So starting with the first phase, this is what we typically call the pilot phase. What you really want to do is run a POC, a proof of concept. And you also want to use this in a test and development environment. And everybody goes through this, and it really starts off with the whole idea of, is it possible for one server to pretend to be 10 separate servers? And so customers need reassurance that this is fundamentally a possibility. So they install VMware in a test environment and typically find out, yes, that's absolutely the case, it can be done. So do a simple POC, a proof of concept, right? And that's the first step on their journey. The other thing is you often find when you start looking inside your company, you might find if you have software development or test environments, they're already using VMware. And they're a great way to get over that test phase very quickly. So when you arrive at the light use phase, what you're really doing is you're taking the step where you start to consolidate some of the simpler applications. Typically, the kind of applications and servers that get consolidated and brought under control of a virtual environment rather than physical are the utility servers. So here we think about file systems, file servers, we think about print servers, and simpler services like DNS and Active Directory. And those are easy to consolidate, easy to combine, and you get a very quick return on investment there. What you also find is that one of the big benefits that you're starting to enjoy at this point is high availability. And so VMware gives you the ability, without doing any additional work, of detecting a virtual machine that's gone down and automatically restarting that on different physical hardware. So the next step is we transition from the light use phase to the heavy use phase. And this is really the toughest transition to make, and a lot of customers get stuck at this point. And that's because a lot of new considerations come into play at the heavy use phase. The most important being you've moved from utility servers to tier 1 applications. And of course, these are the ones where the guarantees and the service levels that commitments that you make to your business really, really count. But we're not talking about a commitment to just make an application available. You want to make sure that you're protecting it. So having a backup and recovery strategy specific to virtual environments is quite important. Here it's important to consider newer technologies such as deduplication that allow you to achieve a higher consolidation ratio than you might otherwise achieve. So that's something to think about. Another element is disaster recovery. Right? As an IT manager, you've promised your business some degree of business continuity and an ability to recover from disasters. So in the case of VMware, that means utilizing the SRM product, Site Recovery Manager. Site Recovery Manager is a VMware capability that needs to work on top of storage array replication. So what you need is you need an adapter. You need to make sure that your storage array is compatible with the SRM system from VMware. These adapters are called SRAs. Moving on, when it comes to performance, we didn't just promise availability of the application, we promised them the business that they would perform at a certain level. And in order to be able to guarantee that, to guarantee a particular quality of service, here's something that I'd like you to think about when you achieve this phase of deployment, is the whole notion of quality of service, not just at the server layer, but also at the storage layer. Quality of service on the storage layer, make sure that tier 2 applications cannot overload the storage system to the point where it can no longer provide tier 1 applications with the performance that they need. So it's a storage quality of service is a perfect complement to VMware's dynamic resource scheduling system, which provides this capability at the server level. Perhaps the most important is you need what we call end-to-end management. Right? And this is systems management software and technologies that understand the new reality of virtual environments. Let me illustrate to you some of the simple differences that you find between virtual and physical environments. So what I'm drawing here for you is just a simple diagram with 2 ESX servers. These are the physical VMware servers that will run multiple virtual machines. And one of the characteristics of a virtual environment, and a VMware environment in particular, is what we call high mobility. It's possible through things like the dynamic resource scheduler for a particular virtual machine to be moved from one physical system to another physical system completely in the background in a completely automated way. So traditional management applications don't understand that kind of situation naturally. So when I say we need end-to-end management, you need something that can start at the virtual level, right? Understand what the corresponding physical hardware is, what the corresponding network topologies are, be able to go all the way down to the storage system, networking components, etc. So you need something that understands the new reality of managing virtual machines in a virtual world. So once you've got that taken care of, right, all of these different things, you'll be in good shape and you'll be able to achieve really, the holy grail here, which is a virtual first phase, right? And what we mean by that is that the policy of your IT department has become, whenever anyone requests a new server, they get issued a virtual server. So that all your processes and policies are in place to provide them with virtual servers very, very quickly. And only by way of exception and by breaking away from the policy are they allowed to achieve, to be issued a physical server. So to recap, we see that customers, when they adopt virtualization, go through some fairly well understood phases. Starting in a pilot phase, trying to get all the way to this point where virtualization has become the default. Thank you for joining me. My name is Chris Insinger. I'm VMware Business Director at EMC for Asia Pacific and Japan.